Number 10. Xbox 360. In April 2013, a man from Florida brutally killed his girlfriend. Monica Gooden was talking with one of her friends on the phone one day and having a nice time. During the conversation, she was wearing a pink robe and didn't think anything of it until her lover, 22-year-old Darius Johnson, said she looked like a pink elephant in it. Later that day, Darius stabbed Monica several times before beating her to death with an Xbox gaming console. A woman from a nearby apartment complex, as well as the victim's nephew, Gerald Curtis, witnessed the attack. Gerald claims that he heard a commotion and looked out the window to see Darius on top of his aunt. He ran out to stop him, managing to stab the suspect. After police were called, Darius tried to run away but was unsuccessful. The cops took him to the hospital and got his injury treated. While there, they questioned him about what happened leading up to the fight. Johnson told them that he and Monica had been fighting recently. He wanted his mom to move into their home with them, but the victim wasn't too excited about the prospect. Then, strangely, Darius said that his girlfriend was controlling his spirit, so she had to be sacrificed. Investigators found a trail of blood inside the couple's home leading up to Gooden's lifeless body. Beside her, they found a sharp knife and a bloody Xbox. In 2017, an insanity plea by the killer's lawyers was rejected. Mr. Johnson was sentenced to serve the rest of his life in prison for the murder of Monica Gooden. Number 9. Died by the cross. In 2008, on Christmas Day, 81-year-old Moira Rankin was found murdered in her Ireland home. Her body showed signs of having been severely beaten as well as sexually assaulted. It was also later revealed that whoever attacked her used a crucifix to do it. Moira had thorns from the objects embedded into her chin, and investigators believe the figurine of Jesus fell off at some point during the beating. Not long after Moira was found, 45-year-old Karen Walsh became the primary suspect. Apparently, the only reason she abused the victim sexually was to throw police off her trail and make them think the killer was male. She knew Moira because she owned the house right next door. Over the years, they had built a trusting, neighborly relationship. Karen told authorities that she visited her neighbor a few times on Christmas Eve to deliver presents. Prosecutors told another story, though. They think the killer was wildly drunk by the time she saw the elderly woman. She probably grew extremely angry after Moira commented on her intoxicated state and let loose. The court found Karen Walsh guilty of killing Moira Rankin with the victim's family crucifix. For her crime, she was given 20 years in prison. Number 8. Chopstick Chaos. One evening in 2016, in Osaka, Japan, 51-year-old Michikazu Ikuchi's parents began arguing at the dinner table. The son intervened in an attempt to de-escalate things. Instead, he made the situation so much worse. While trying to calm his father down, Ikuchi began waving a 50-foot-long cooking chopstick around in the old man's face. He somehow ended up stabbing his father in the throat with it. Ikuchi called the police, who quickly arrived at the scene. He told officers that he didn't mean to kill his father and that he was simply trying to stop his parents from fighting. But he was nevertheless arrested as authorities investigated the bizarre incident. There have been no updates since the story first broke, so it's unclear how the case turned out. Number 7. Poisoned privates. In 2013, an unnamed woman from Brazil tried to kill her husband. She didn't do it how most angry wives would, though. Nope, she had a completely different idea. Her plan was to put poison on her vagina and seduce her lover. It's unknown what kind of poisonous substance she used, but according to medical reports, it was enough to have killed more than 2 people. On the night she decided to go through with the evil plot, she convinced her husband to give her oral sex. Before he was able to do it, the 43-year-old man noticed a strange and strong odor coming from her private area. He was afraid that she was sick or had some kind of transmittable illness, so he took her to the hospital. After being questioned by doctors, she apparently confessed to everything. It's believed that she resorted to this crazy plan after asking for a divorce and being rejected. The medical staff treated her and were able to get the poison out, but it's more than likely the woman was sued by her husband for attempted murder. Just in case anyone had the thought, her assassination attempt wouldn't have worked. The vagina is an extremely sensitive organ that happens to be very absorbent. Shoving lethal toxins inside it would more than likely hurt a female before anyone else. Who knows why the wife didn't just poison his food like a normal killer? And now for number 6. But first, it's shout-out time. Big thank you to Buckethead and Silver Fox for supporting this channel. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and join the Badger fam. Number 6. Bowling ball. A 5-year-old boy named Sita Osman went missing on June 25, 2013. The child went out to ride his bike, but never came home. Just 18 hours after the search began, though, the person responsible for his death revealed Sita's location. The killer was an unnamed 13-year-old boy who has remained anonymous given his age. Police reported that the teenager cornered Osman before pushing him to the ground. Then, when the child was helpless, the teen straddled the victim and beat him to death with a bowling ball. The child's skull was left completely crushed and broken up. His face was almost unrecognizable. The murderer later led a few of his friends to Sita's remains, perhaps to brag about his disgusting and horrific actions. It happened behind an abandoned house on Lois Street in Worth, Texas. The only reason he killed the boy was because the 5-year-old allegedly kept bothering him while at the store. During his trial, the suspect apologized to Osman's mother with tears in his eyes. It's unclear if he was truly sorry or if he was just scared of facing the upcoming consequences. The jury found him guilty of capital murder and gave him 23 years for the crime. On his 19th birthday, the killer was set to be transferred out of juvie and into an adult prison. Number 5. Death by stiletto. Dr. Stefan Andersson moved to the United States from Sweden early in his career as a biochemist. He got a job working as a researcher at the University of Houston. In 2012, he began dating a woman named Anna Trujillo. Their relationship started out pretty great, but things soon became toxic. Just months after the pair got together, Anna called 911 crying. Officers arrived to find Andersson dead. He was so unrecognizable, they thought he had been shot. They asked Anna where the gun was, but she didn't have one. She claimed that Andersson had attacked her after they went out drinking, and that she defended herself by hitting him with her high heel. Anna admitted to striking him 25 times in the face, head, and arms with the 5.5-inch stiletto. She was charged with murder. Prosecutor Sarah Mickelson described Anna as a violent woman with severe anger problems, stating in her closing argument, "She's not just crazy, she's scary crazy." But Anna told a much different story on the stand, describing Dr. Andersson as a violent alcoholic with a history of physical and verbal abuse towards her. On that final night, she said that he was choking her and she couldn't breathe. Anna claimed that she feared for her life when she struck him with her shoe in an attempt to fend him off. When her lawyer asked her why she didn't leave Andersson after he hit her for the first time, she said that she loved him and wanted him to get better. The jury was unconvinced that Anna's life was in imminent danger and convicted her of murder. She received a life sentence with a minimum of 30 years and will be 75 when she becomes eligible for parole. Number 4. Prosthetic leg. Amputees and people who use prosthetics go about life a little different than the rest of us. Some of them haven't let their disability keep them down, though. A few have become Olympians, motivational speakers, comedians, and, well, murderers. In 2010, a 47-year-old woman in Louisiana used her prosthetic leg to beat her boyfriend to death. Deborah Hewitt, who was homeless at the time of the murder, supposedly stomped on the victim, Dwayne Ball, repeatedly before taking off her leg and whacking him in the head multiple times. She apparently had an accomplice named John Romini, who helped the woman strangle Dwayne. She says that she was dating both men, but the victim had started to threaten her. According to her, the attack only started out of self-defense. Police weren't able to find Dwayne's body until 6 weeks after the crime. By then, he'd already started the decomposing process. The court prosecutor, Pat McGee, suggested that it couldn't have been self-defense. Who could possibly allow a person they once loved rot without telling anyone? He argued that no one who thought that homicide was justified would have done that. The jury reached a verdict on Deborah's fate in less than 2 hours. She was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. It isn't entirely concrete what happened to John Romini, but a Facebook post from ABC's KATC TV3 News says that he was given 15 years for his role in Dwayne Ball's death. Number 3. SWEATPANTS. In 2010, a jury found 61-year-old Jimmy Hackley guilty for the April 2006 murder of Patricia Ann McCollum. It's unclear why he killed the 29-year-old, but we do know what he used to carry it out. The home the crime took place in was a known drug house, so it's possible an argument erupted over illegal substances. Jimmy's DNA was found on the murder weapon, which was a pair of sweatpants. Now you might be wondering how this man ended Patricia's life with a soft pair of sweats. Well, he wrapped them around her neck and pulled them so tightly that she choked to death. The force was so strong that detectives noticed the blood vessels in her eyeballs had exploded. The police first suspected the man after he made several phone calls from the victim's phone after her death. His nephew also claimed that the suspect came to his apartment extremely upset, asking for help getting out of town. For his actions, he was given a life sentence. Number 2. Gym life. In the summer of 2014, 46-year-old Kenneth Asako attacked and killed a 43-year-old while working out at the Bali Total Fitness gym. The day before the incident, the victim had flirted with the suspect's girlfriend and asked if she wanted to take a ride on his motorcycle. Obviously, Kenneth wasn't a huge fan of the man's unwelcome advancement on his woman. It's unknown if this was the sole motive behind the attack, but it's believed it definitely had something to do with it. On September 17th, Asako took a weightlifting bar and bludgeoned David Galindo to death, aiming for his head. After authorities got to the scene, they transported the victim to the San Francisco General Hospital, where he died shortly after. Asako was arrested the day after the attack and was identified by witnesses who reported the incident and the details of what happened. The murder weapon was an 18-inch thick metal bar, usually used for leg dips. It was left bloody at the gym while Kenneth fled. His girlfriend, who was the subject of the fight, declined an interview but cooperated with the investigation. One of the killer's 5 children, Keilani, said that she thought her dad suffered from bipolar disorder. Despite her saying this, the man was never officially diagnosed. He was handed a 17-year sentence for the brutal attack. Number 1. Pen. In October 2017, 21-year-old Jason Webster stabbed his lover after flying into a drunken fit of anger. The Hull University student killed 26-year-old Rebecca Love in his dorm building after she allegedly refused to sleep with him. It's possible that Jason was jealous of his lover's other boyfriend in her hometown. The relationship they had was casual, but it's likely that Jason wanted to be more than friends with benefits. The two met up late one night after the suspect had spent some time drinking with friends. At some point during their meeting, the young man attacked Rebecca with a pen. Along with the stabs, he also suffocated her. Her body had injuries on the chest area, head, and neck. After realizing what he'd just done, Jason did his best to clean up the crime scene. He even scrubbed the victim's body thoroughly to try and get rid of any evidence. Then he attempted to forge a letter in Rebecca's handwriting to throw police off his trail. The message wrote that her other boyfriend didn't show up for a date. Jason thought this might throw suspicion on him instead, but the police didn't buy it. Investigators discovered both the pen with the killer's DNA on it and a bottle of cleaning spray with a full handprint. For the murder of Rebecca Love, Jason was handed a life sentence. Thanks for watching today's video. Which of these weapons were you most surprised by? Let us know in the comments and subscribe while you're down there. We'll see you next time on Bad Badger.